This is the vlog for February 3rd, 2019, and today was the Super Bowl. Now, I didn't have a big stake in either team. Mostly I wanted the Patriots to lose because I'm sick to death of the Patriots winning Super Bowls, and they won the Super Bowl. I would not hesitate to call this a Super Bore. There were some moments. Maroon 5 was a fantastic music act, and the halftime show was actually really good, except for Travis Knight's weird rap bit where he couldn't even be bothered to censor himself for the Super Bowl, which resulted in a lot of blanked out parts of his bit. But Big Boy was awesome. They did an old, what I thought was a Outcast song, but I guess he did it himself, even though Andre 3000 was doing the vocals on that, I thought. It's been a while. But I remember that song back when I was in college. I like the way you move. Boo-doo-boo. And that was good. They finished off with Moves Like Jagger, which I had forgotten that was a Maroon 5 song. But a lot like Bruno Mars doing the halftime show for Super Bowl 49 when the Seahawks won. I'm probably going to end up going out and buying a lot more music by Maroon 5 because I was very impressed. I like their sound a lot. Got a little bit of a funk, but it's just really basically good rock and roll. That's been most of my day. I mean, it's fun to sit and watch the game with my dad, but even he was getting bored getting up to do stuff, and it was a very defensive game, a very low scoring game until the very end. I very late in the day, in fact, right after the Super Bowl, right after dinner, I found it's not really a game, it's a tech demo, I think is the best thing to call it. It's called Outterra, and it's been around for a few years now. I just didn't know about it. And what it is a 1-to-1 scale procedurally generated Earth. It has roads, because I believe it's getting a lot of its data from Google Earth or Google Maps, but very, very few buildings, an occasional airstrip, because it does actually have vehicle support if you buy the full version of the... It's not a game in that there's not a win condition or a loss condition. You can control the speed at which you move. You can stick to the ground if you feel so inclined, or you can... how do I put this? You can just fly. You control the speed with the mouse wheel, so as you mouse wheel up, your speed gets more and more ridiculously fast until you're crossing over the world just about the speed at which you like. You can control the time of day, and you can have some limited control of the weather, although the weather itself is also procedurally generated. I managed to find my neighborhood, and I'm going to go back and investigate a little bit more. It's I love Google Earth. I sit and play with it every about 6 months or so. I just sort of amuse myself by visiting places that I've been or going to places that I've never been but would like to go. And I'm sure at least one of the things I'm going to end up doing is visiting my old neighborhood in Minnesota. But I've often wanted to find some form of a Minecraft map that actually is the world, or at the very least America. It doesn't actually do a wraparound effect for its worlds, I don't think. But I still would like to find like some sort of version of the United States, maybe. And I've had this weird sort of obsession with virtual versions of the real world ever since a game called Pilotwings 64. Pilotwings 64 had only like 4 total maps, I want to say. And they were basically 4 different islands. One was sort of simple, and that's where most of the easy missions took place. One was sort of more complicated mountainous area. I forget where the third was, but the ultimate map was called the Little States, and it was a super condensed, miniaturized United States that, in the fastest vehicle in the game, you could fly over in less than 5 minutes. So all of the buildings are very exaggerated, but Seattle was actually one of the places that you could visit, along with New York City, Los Angeles, and a couple cities in the interior. I was just so thrilled to be able to fly around and see, some really neat sights. This was very early 3D gaming. There were no real textures on any of the surfaces to speak of. Maybe a couple, very basic things to make, like signs and whatnot. But you could still get a very general idea of what everything was and where it was supposed to be and where you were at any given point. And one of my favorite things to do was play a game where you had basically jump boots. This was a game where you had a wide variety of aerial vehicles, and this one vehicle involved basically taking very long leaps. And it was one of the really good ways to sort of get into the details that the developers had put into this miniaturized version of the United States. That game has I don't think it's ever come up on any of the virtual consoles. I heard a story that the people that developed it went on to do military grade simulators, and so they were contractually obligated not to release any of their software for whatever reason, security reasons. But this is really something that I've wanted for a while, and I just happened to find out about it today. So I'm going to go back to playing with it. I also managed to finish my pass. I haven't compiled everything into a Word document. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Today was sort of a holiday. But I should mention one last thing. It did snow today, and so I'm probably going to go for a walk in the snow tomorrow. It didn't really stick to the streets or the sidewalk, so I'm not really going to be walking in the snow, but it should be very pretty, I hope. Anyway, I'm Eric Spornitz, and tomorrow will be better.